What's up, cousins? Welcome back to the new era of Melanin Mysteries. The crime is messy, the tea is hot, and baby, we got another one. Now, if this is your very first time stumbling into my lovely little black true crime corner of the internet, welcome. Come on in, grab you a seat, and get comfortable. I hope you ain't have nowhere to be because I got a story to tell you. I'm Tiffany, aka Detective Lightskinn, your favorite slightly unhinged cousin with Wi Fi and court documents. But before your ass gets too comfortable and puts a groove in that seat, let me go ahead and give my weekly disclaimer because every single week somebody discovers this podcast and suddenly forgets they have free will. This is true crime with seasoning and attitude. Around here, we laugh, we cuss, we cut up, and when these offenders deserve to get dragged, baby, I'ma drag them like they owe me some money. But at the center of every case is the victim and the families who actually deserve justice. Now, every once in a while, the family members, they become part of the foolishness, like last week's case. Because that one it left me with no choice at all because everybody caught a stray because everybody was acting a plum fool. So if sarcasm offends you, if a well placed what in the hell was they thinking sends your blood pressure through the roof, or if you are looking for one of those podcasts where everybody whispers respectfully for 2 hours, this probably ain't your ministry. So you have officially been warned. Now, to my cousins, my family, hey y'all, how y'all been? Most importantly, question, are y'all still mad at me about the little Netflix special? Can I come outside yet or am I still on punishment? Listen, just need to know these things because I laughed about that all week. Because y'all know King Arthur came through and spilled enough tea to fill a swimming pool. And trust me, I know a whole lot more, a whole lot. But I am trying to grow as a person. I am practicing restraint and character development. So instead of dumping the entire seasoning cabinet in the pot, I just sprinkled a little paprika on it. Just enough to let the people know the food wasn't bland. That's all. Now, before we jump into today's crime and chaos, I don't really have any big announcements this week, just the usual housekeeping. Make sure you're following Melanin Mysteries podcast everywhere Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Come find your cousin. And then head over to melaninmysteries.com and sign up for updates because one of these days, I swear on everything, I'm really start acting like I'm going to get it together over there. I promise you. The weekly blogs are going to come back at some point. I promise. Because I really do have so much to talk about, but y'all life just keep clocking in before I do. And finally, if you're enjoying the show, please leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening because it really does help more people find the podcast. Now, if after listening every week and you decide I've officially gotten on your last nerve, as one listener told me, you can feel free to send me an email, shoot me a DM, file a complaint, write a strongly worded letter, whatever your heart desires, as long as you keep it cute. Okay? Because I'm going to keep it cute too. Probably. Now, all right, that's enough talking. So go ahead, grab your snack, silence your group chat, and let's get into this week's case. Now, let me ask y'all something, cousins. Say you 18, you're trying to end a relationship with somebody who just refuses to let you go. Because every time you try and leave, here they come. Every time you block them, new number. Every time you think you got a little piece, boom, there they are again. And we're going to make it even messier because this person knows one of your deepest secrets, a secret that if it ever got out, it could completely change your life. Matter of fact, they already exposed you once on social media and they're threatening to do it again if you don't fall back in line. They keep reminding you I can ruin your life whenever I want. So let me ask y'all, at what point does someone stop being your ex and they start becoming your captor? And how far would you go to get your freedom back? And don't answer that just yet because by the end of today's case, I have a feeling that half of y'all are going to be looking at this case one way and the other half are going to be in my comments ready to fight. So, cousins, let me tell y'all what had happened. So, an 18-year-old high school football captain is standing in a Connecticut courtroom. The judge looks up, sentences him to 12 years in prison. Just like that, football gone, college is gone. The future everybody said he had is gone. Now, see, that's the part that got me scratching my head because I'm sitting there like, well, wait a damn minute, because how did an 18-year-old football captain end up here? So, to answer that, we got to rewind because this story didn't start in a courtroom. It didn't even start the night Ronald Taylor Jr. lost his life. It started years earlier with a relationship that never should have become what it did. And like I tell y'all every week, context matters. So before we judge anybody, we got to walk this one all the way out because it's a little bit different from what we usually do. So on November 21st, 2013, it's about 9:15 p.m. Somebody done called 911. They reported a disturbance outside a house on 24 Farm Hill Road in Bloomfield, Connecticut. Get there, and it ain't good when they get there. Two men are outside with stab wounds. One of them is able to talk. That's 18-year-old Terrence Mitchell, better known as TJ. Now, TJ, he got a few cuts on his hand. It ain't nothing life threatening. And he's able to point officers in the direction of his friend, Ronald Taylor Jr. So they walk over a little further and they see Ronald on the floor or on the ground. And he's been stabbed multiple times. So, the paramedics immediately start treating him and they're trying to ask him questions, just like they do in any case. Do you know who did this? He couldn't answer. So they go ahead, they load him up into the back and rush him off to the hospital. Now, before we get into all that, let me back up because, I don't do things out of order. So let's talk about who these two men were. So, first of all, we got Terrence Mitchell, TJ, like I said. He was born June 21st, 1995, in Connecticut. And from everything I found, he was raised pretty much by his mama. Her name was Tyra Smith, and it looked like his grandmother helped raise him too, but I couldn't find any information about his father. So, his mama, she wasn't out here playing, y'all. She worked as an administrator for a special education program at the Capital Region Education Council, and his grandmother worked as a paralegal specialist in the Connecticut Attorney General's office. So, by all accounts, TJ had a good upbringing. I tell y'all, this baby could play some football. By his senior year at Bloomfield High School, he was co captain of the football team. He led the state in interceptions. He helped lead his team to a division championship and had scholarships coming in from countries all over the country. Basically, everything was looking good for TJ, real good. Now let's slide on over to Ronald Taylor Jr. Most folks knew him as City or Rondell. Where both of them came from, child, I don't know. I'm just reporting what I told y'all, what I heard, what I found. So Ronald was born sometime around 1986, 1987, also from Connecticut. His mama was Jessie Logan, and his dad was Ronald Taylor Sr., duh. And he came from a pretty big family. He had two sisters, Chantel and Telly, and three brothers, Alvin, Tylen, and Brian. And everybody who knew Ronald, they all pretty much said the same thing. He was a good dude. He liked fast cars. He loved his video games, and he loved Bloomfield football. Now, he saw a little weed here and there, and you know how that goes. Nothing crazy. Now, you know, I ain't trying to start nothing, but I just need y'all to pay attention to a couple things in case you glossed over it or overlooked it. I said TJ was born in 1995. I said City was born in either 1986 or 1987. Just put a pin in that, put a little sticky note there. We're going to come back to it because I need to come collect those. So just keep them for me for a second. Now, unfortunately, Ronald, he does not make it. He did end up passing away at the hospital later that evening. So, detectives, they bring in TJ. They're trying to figure out exactly what happened because now we have a homicide case on hands. And according to TJ, he and Ronald, he said they was sitting outside in his car, in Ronald's car, because his mom didn't approve of their friendship. She was like, you don't need to be hanging around with no grown ass man. I get it. I get it. Because when I tell y'all Ronald was 27 and TJ was 18, I said, well, maybe mama may have been on to something right there. Now, naturally, detectives have the same questions that all of us have. What exactly does a 27-year-old want with an 18-year-old? Right. So teacher tells me, they met about 3 years ago. They hang out, play video games, not much. We're gonna come back to that too. But as for that night, TJ says Ronald was in the driver's seat, he was in the passenger seat, and after they got out the car, they were jumped by either two or three men dressed in all black and hoodies. And depending on what report you read, it says two, some said three, but either way, TJ said they were attacked. Now, the 911 call came in from a neighbor, and at this point, detectives, they don't really have nothing to say that TJ's lying. He got cuts on his hand. He looked like he done been through some shit. So after interviewing, they let him go home, and they're gonna keep working his case. So next up, let's talk about this neighbor. Child bless their little hearts, cause they didn't help much. They said they looked outside, they saw some folks fighting, but they couldn't tell if it was two people or three people. They said they saw one person standing over another, but they didn't know who he was. They couldn't identify nobody. They didn't even know if they was black, white, Asian, Hispanic. They ain't even know what to do. Nothing. They got nothing. Only thing solid thing they get at detectives was they heard somebody scream and then they heard somebody moan. That was it. I'm like, What would I have done with that? Now, meanwhile, detectives are still processing the scene, and they find Ronald's car a little further up the street where him and TJ were found, right? But now this is where the case starts to do a little shimmy. Because inside the car, detectives they found some blood splatter. Not all that surprising considering what had just happened. But it kind of is when you think about it. But they also find two cell phones. And baby, if detective thought those phones were just gonna tell them whose number belonged to who, they were sadly mistaken. Those phones did not just have just contacts. These is teenagers. Well, he wasn't a teenager. But they got conversations, they got pictures, secrets. And before detectives were done going through them, this case is about to take a hard left that nobody saw coming. So detectives, they start digging through those two cell phones. And when I tell y'all they found a whole situation, they found the whole situation. Because remember, TJ had told the detectives they were just friends, just hanging out, playing video games, nothing much. But that is not what these phones said. These phones painted a completely different picture. This was not just a friendship. This was a full-blown romantic relationship. They're texting I love you. They're making plans together. They're talking like a couple. But as detectives keep reading, one thing became clear. Oh, Ronald had a jealous streak. Actually, fuck all that. That man, he was possessive as hell. Because jealous is putting it nicely. And then they start, they're digging through these messages and they come across a message from the day that Ronald was killed. So Ronald, like, he texts TJ, like, hey, I'm about to come over. And he like, this ain't gonna end well. What the hell you mean this ain't gonna end well? What's supposed to happen? Why is this not about to end well? So in just a short period of time here, let's recap this. So we have gone from a stabbing. Two people have been stabbed. One is now dead. One has been sent home. Now we got some text messages from a 27-year-old talking to an 18-year-old telling them, this ain't about to be good. And you telling them we love you, we love each other and all this stuff. Are you threatening my life, sir? Okay. Because, baby, this case is changing by the text message. So at this point, the text are probably like, yeah, we might want to go and holla at TJ just one more time. So they bring him in, same room, same detective, same question. Hey, you got to tell us what really happened. Because it ain't looking all that cut and dry like it did before. Now, before I tell y'all what came out of TJ's mouth, can we just appreciate how quickly somebody's life can change? This is an 18-year-old. He's a football captain. He's leading the state in interceptions. Scholarship offers from colleges all over the country. Folks are talking about his future. And just like that, it's about to go to hell. Because TJ confesses. He admits that he's the one who stabbed Ronald. And according to TJ, this is how the story really went down. Earlier that night, Ronald had already texted saying he was coming over. And when I tell you, baby, he was 38 hot, honey. He was 38 hot. And I told y'all he had a jealous streak. He was possessive as fuck. But come to find out, according to TJ, about 3 weeks before the stabbing, Ronald get on Facebook making a post about TJ being Bloomfield's gay football player. And this post stayed up for about 5 hours before he deleted it. Now, here's the thing. TJ had a girlfriend. Now, I don't know the who, what, why, when, and where, but apparently he didn't want this coming out. I don't know his reasoning, but he didn't want this coming out. But Ronald, he said, didn't want him talking to anybody. He wanted to be his only friend. He didn't want TJ to have no girlfriend. He couldn't have no friends that was girls. He couldn't walk nobody to class. He couldn't have no male friends. He didn't want friends with the people on the football team, his teammates. Like, he was that jealous. Because in his mind, in Ronald's mind, everybody was competition. So TJ told detectives that every time, he tried to end his relationship, he kept telling Ronald, I just want to be friends. Like, this isn't what I want. Ronald would allegedly, heavy on the allegedly, because he's not here to speak for himself, but so I'm just going to say allegedly, because I don't want nobody coming after me, threatened to expose him. Now, whether you want to call it outing him as gay, bisexual on the down low, TJ said Ronald knew exactly what to threaten him with. He said he said that man threatened to cut him with a sword. Like, where are we getting a sword from, sir? What? Why are we resorting to such violence? Like a sword? I was like, oh, okay. Now, then TJ tells detective something that made me stop for a second. Because he said, I told y'all before, he said they met a few years earlier. TJ was only 15 when they met. And if he was 15, was 25, 26. And according to TJ, Ronald would give him weed and liquor. And that was how the first sexual encounter happened. And after that, TJ said the sexual part of the relationship continued. But he said he kept telling he told detectives like he didn't want to be with Ronald. He just wanted to be friends. Like he just wanted to hang out, but he said allegedly Ronald wouldn't let him. Now we're back to November 21st, 2013. Ronald pulls up, TJ comes outside, and they're sitting in the car talking. Everything's cool, kinda. Because he already said he was coming and it wasn't gonna be good. Wasn't gonna end well. So I guess Ronald had found out about TJ's girlfriend, or he found out he was talking to some girls. I don't know exactly the who, what, but according to TJ, they get to arguing because Ronald's upset. And he said Ronald started hitting him in the face. The hell you. Okay, so then TJ was like, TJ pulled out a steak knife. He stabs Ronald twice. Ronald tries to climb over TJ. So imagine Ronald's in the driver's seat. He climbs over TJ to get out to the passenger seat. Why that was to me, I was like, why you trying to get the driver's? I don't know. And TJ said he stabbed him again. So Ronald does manage to get out of the car and he's still able to run. So TJ gets out, he's chasing after him, and he said Ronald was screaming, I take it back, I take it back. I didn't mean to do this. So he said he chased Ronald into one of the neighbors' front yard. He said Ronald puts his hands up. TJ stabbed him again. And then Ronald falls on the floor. TJ stabs him one more time and he said he left the knife in his back. And during that attack, TJ accidentally stabbed himself a couple times with the knife. So that's why he was, all cut up or whatever. Now, remember that whole story about them 2 or 3 men that were dressed in black hoodies jumping them? Yeah, that story didn't survive the second interview. So just like that, the case went from who did it to why did he do it. Okay, so after TJ confessed, he was arrested and he's charged with murder. Now, y'all, his bail was set at $1 million. $1 million. That is a serious bail. Now, TJ's attorney, and I'm going to assume he wasn't cheap. He immediately files a motion asking the judge to reduce the bail to 500,000 because the defense argued that TJ had absolutely no criminal history. He had strong ties to the community. He wasn't a flight risk. Basically, he wasn't going anywhere. The judge was like, nah, motion denied. Well, even though the bail was not reduced, the family was able to get TJ out through a bail bondsman. And when I tell you that's still a hell of a lot of money, because even if you come up with 10%, that's $100,000. That's a lot of goddamn money. And needless to say, Ronald's family was not happy about TJ being released. And as part of his bail conditions, TJ had to wear ankle monitoring. He was on house arrest. He couldn't go back to school, but he did finish his senior year with a tutor and he was still able to graduate on time. And when I tell y'all, this case had the whole city talking because everybody had an opinion. There's TJ's football coach, Ty Outlaw, described him as a great kid. But he was like, look, I ain't know nothing about no allegations about somebody him being involved in a sexual relationship with an older man. When I tell y'all, people were shocked. Like people were coming out the woodwork because he's their star football player. Like I said, he had such a bright future ahead of him, and people were rallying behind them and his family. People were shocked. They were confused and they trying to figure out how the hell any of this happened. And that was very much to Ronald's family's frustration because he had so many people standing behind him. In this case, it was just a mess, even on the legal side of things. And I can see why this case gave prosecutor Thomas Garcia a headache because it wasn't a straightforward murder case. It was a fucking mess. And here's why. So let's break this down. You had allegations that Ronald had groomed TJ from the beginning when TJ was only 15 years old. That was their defense they were going with. And according to TJ, like I said, Ronald gave him alcohol and weed before their first sexual encounter. I mean, I ain't gonna. Okay, we gonna sleep with words. That's what we do around here. That's damn near like you drugged me and then you took advantage of me. That's what that is. Let's call it what it is. That's what that is. It is what it is. Then there's allegations that Ronald repeatedly threatened to out TJ whenever he tried to leave. So are you manipulating him and threatening him are you coercing him into having sex with you? Huh. So, and the detectives, they did find evidence of threatening messages, allegations of physical violence being used to force TJ into sexual acts. There you go. I said what I said. So then you got TJ. Like I said, the boy had no criminal record. He was an honor student, football captain, scholarship offers, a kid who had never been in trouble. Now, whether you believe TJ or not, that's not really the point, but the evidence does back up what he was saying. So the prosecutor had to ask himself one question: can I convince 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt? And apparently that answer was not as clear as they hoped, because prosecutors became concerned because there was a real possibility that this case went to trial. TJ could walk away completely acquitted. I mean, because they got strong evidence. I mean, the defense does. And that's very rare when we talk about cases, but the defense had a very strong defense in this one. So they approached Ronald's family about a plea deal. Instead of murder, they wanted to give TJ a plea for first degree manslaughter. Ronald's family was absolutely against it. And they were like, look, even if we take it to trial, this could still be the outcome. Or, like we said, he could be acquitted. But Ronald's family was like, Ronald wasn't grooming nobody. They was like, no, we want to take this shit to trial. We want justice. They wanted TJ convicted of murder. That was it. They wanted him convicted of murder. Like I said, when I was watching Fatal Attraction, the prosecutors, they said they kept trying to explain that there was a chance a jury could acquit him, while the defense was prepared to lean heavily into the grooming allegations, and they wanted to portray Ronald as a sexual predator. I mean, they weren't too much. But anyway, eventually they did go ahead and reach a deal. October 17th, 2014, TJ accepted a plea agreement, and he was going to be sentenced to 12 years in prison, followed by 8 years of probation. In his sentencing, TJ did apologize to Ronald's family. He said, quote, I'm going to learn and I'm going to take this time to turn my life around, and I'm never going to come back to this courtroom. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say about that, but I can get with it. I can get with it. Now, Ronald's mama, she also addressed the court. She's still livid. She is upset. She's in there. She like, this is not fair. She up there with Ronald's baby pictures like, look, this is my son. This is my baby. I can never see my baby again because he killed my baby. And she just told the judge that it was not fair. But at this point, the plea deal is already in place. It's been signed, sealed, delivered. That's it's kind of what it is at that point. And then Judge Alexander, he had a few words for TJ too. He basically told him that if he was truly sorry, he needed to use his time in prison to rehabilitate himself and hopefully keep other young men from making the same mistakes. And he also told TJ he needed to do some soul searching and figure out why he couldn't be honest with himself about others. I could see that, but you ain't have to. Come on now, like you ain't have to like rub salt into the wound when you did that. I mean, yeah, but okay. So, you know, TJ at 18, he goes off to serve his sentence and he does his time. And I just hate to see a young black man in prison, especially so young. I mean, you do grown up things, you have to take grown up consequences. I'll never object to that, but it's just heartbreaking. Anyway, he does his time and it is time for parole February 4th, 2025. And from the clips that I watched of his parole hearing, he really seemed like done a lot of growing up while he was incarcerated. I mean, he grew up a lot. He was a little cutie before he came out. He fine as hell. He done buffed up and all that stuff. Like he looks like he spoke very. It seems like he did what he needed to do with his time. He he sounded very articulate. He sounded like he's been doing some work. That's all I can say. And he was actually granted parole. He was released on March 4th of 2025, and he cheered. So I was like, it really did. I was that was when I was actually happy about. But anyway, today TJ is a free man, and honestly, I pray that he stays on the straight and narrow. And this one, y'all, this one was really heavy. Really was. Because in my opinion, this is like really this is when I tell y'all context matters. Because if TJ's account is true, a 15-year-old being supplied with weed and liquor before a sexual relationship, and then you're being threatened to stay in said sexual relationship with a grown ass man, that's grooming. Full stop. There's no argument about that. It's grooming. And I really struggle calling Ronald a victim without also acknowledging those allegations, because if they're true and according to the evidence they were, they're a huge part of this story. But Ronald did also lost his life. But do we feel bad that a pedophile lost his life? Not really. I can't even get up here and lie to y'all and say I feel bad. I really can't, because it's grooming that's coercion, that's damn near rape. I mean, molestation, like it is. It just breaks my heart that TJ lost the future that he had worked so hard for. But I hate that it had to get to that point, and I wish he would have found another way out because, like I said, seeing a young black man with scholarship offers and his whole life ahead of him end up in prison, that part really bugs me because we know that even after he served his time, unless he, does something on his own, he's not gonna be able to get a decent job. They're gonna look at that first degree manslaughter and they're not gonna ask for the backstory of what happened to him. They're not gonna dig into his court records. They're just gonna look and see, another black man, he's a killer. And that's just that. And like I said, who knows what he could have been. And just last week we did, Benji Wilson. His life was cut down and he was the number one player in the high school basketball player in the country. And now on the other side, we have a football star who had a bright future in front of him and he lost his life, lost a big chunk of his life. And that was before greatness as well, because we don't know what he could have done. So, but while I'm here, let me know what y'all think. Did y'all think the plea deal was fair? Should this have gone on trial? I mean, do you think the prosecutors made the right call? And I'm specifically talking to my Apple cousins here, the ones that live on that listen on Apple. This would be the perfect time for y'all to leave a review because my Apple reviews are lagging horribly behind behind Spotify. Can y'all please leave me a review, drop a comment about what y'all thought about this case? Because I would really love to hear what you have to say because I know Apple's a little bit more complicated and it takes time to leave a review. And so if you could just let me know what you thought of the case. Drop a 5 star. I would really appreciate it. And if you're not on Apple, Spotify, I love your comments over there. Like y'all always talk to me over there, and I love it. I love it so much. And if you're not on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening, I appreciate it. Amazon, YouTube. I love your comments on YouTube. iHeart, Pandora. I don't know wherever some other places. I don't even know. But if you come find me, I'm Melanin Mysteries podcast on all platforms. I would love for y'all to keep this conversation going. But before I let y'all go, I do again want to apologize. I know this is another shorter episode. And as most of y'all know, I was in LA this weekend, laying my auntie to rest. And I'm so not gonna lie, this grief is kicking my ass. I almost took this week off. I wrote this episode on the plane coming home yesterday, so that's why it's late because I'm recording at 8 o'clock Monday morning, which y'all know usually I have this up and done. But this weekend was really, really hard. It was hard. So I really would appreciate if y'all could keep me and my family in y'all prayers. I would really appreciate it. And I really want to thank y'all for giving me grace because I really love y'all for that. And don't forget to subscribe because I did drop a brand new Love Lies and Alibis episode. I did a interview with a prison wife. And I said I have a lot more things coming. I'm just trying to get through this period because this shit ain't no joke. Like I've never lost somebody that close. So like I said, this shit is kicking my ass. And I was watching Kev on stage and he said somebody made left a comment about grief and they said it feels like you were at a party or you were at the club and they leave you at the club, don't tell you, they hop in an Uber, go home, go to sleep and turn off their phone. And you don't know what the hell happened. And that's exactly how it feels. So it's like I say, it's a process. And like I said, I'm just trying to get through it. But I appreciate y'all so much. So much. So I'm gonna get to work on another episode of One Bad Night. And just remember until next time, hearts break, but alibis don't. I'll catch y'all next week.